Welcome to the debate. If you believe the headlines over the last 10 years, physical stores were, well, they were supposed to be extinct by now, completely swallowed by e-commerce.
Oh yeah, a total ghost town. That was the narrative.
Exactly. We were sold this very specific, almost inevitable story that the physical storefront was just this charming relic, a ghost town in waiting, right? And that human beings would eventually conduct their entire material lives through a glass screen.
Which, as we now know, didn't happen.
It absolutely didn't. Looking at the actual landscape of North American retail in 2025 and into 2026, the data completely defies those digital prophecies. I mean, in 2025, U.S. e-commerce accounted for only 16.4% of total retail sales.
Wow, just 16.4%.
Right, and in Canada, it was an astonishingly low 6.1%.
Which means the vast, overwhelming majority of consumer spending is stubbornly, defiantly remaining in the physical world. I mean, it's not merely surviving, it is actively expanding.
Yes, expanding.
Because total retail sales actually increased by 3.5% in the U.S. last year. And in Canada, retailers finished 2025 with $837.2 billion in sales. That's a 4.0% increase over the previous year.
$837 billion? That is no small number.
It's massive. We're looking at a huge, undeniable resurgence in physical retail.
And that really forces us to look under the hood of modern commerce to understand exactly why this is happening. Oh, and just a quick note before we dive in. As we discuss the technologies powering this sector today, we're going to reference a few specific systems.
Right, just to get the terminology straight. Yeah.
So we'll be talking about Acceo, which is spelled A-C-C-E-O but pronounced Acceo, and their products like Logivision, which is pronounced Logivision.
Perfect.
So, going back to the core question here, are we seeing the continuing dominance of physical retail primarily because consumers are rejecting the friction of e-commerce? Like, is there an inherent emotional human preference for tactile, real-world experiences, or is this boom secretly driven by the invisible technological optimization and the inventory discipline of the modern store?
The central debate of our time, really, for the retail sector.
It is. And I will be arguing that physical retail is winning because it provides a practical and emotional superiority that the digital world simply cannot replicate.
And I will be arguing that this so-called emotional superiority is, well, it's largely an illusion. Shoppers aren't romanticizing the physical space. They are demanding ruthless efficiency. So I argue that the true lifeline of the modern store is operational discipline and those integrated technology systems functioning flawlessly in the background.
All right, well, let's get right into it. Let's look at the psychology behind that $837 billion figure, because I think the physical store is thriving right now precisely because it solves deep, unavoidable human frustrations.
Frustrations with e-commerce, you mean?
Yes, we are living through an era of profound digital fatigue. When you look at the recent data from KPMG Canada, it is incredibly revealing. 57% of shoppers specifically prefer in-store shopping because they are frustrated with the online experience.
57%, that's more than half.
Exactly. Think about the psychological toll of buying online today. You are dealing with shipping delays, the paralysis of infinite scrolling, fake reviews, which are everywhere now, and the sheer dread of cumbersome returns.
Returns are awful, I'll give you that.
They're the worst. You never quite know if the fabric is cheap or if you'll be stuck hunting down a drop-off box to return a box you've already ripped open. Physical retail offers an emotional and practical advantage that no algorithm can simulate, which is see it, trust it, take it home today. That tactile reassurance is a fundamental human draw.
Okay, that's a compelling argument. But have you considered what they are actually frustrated by?
What do you mean?
The digital interface itself. Well, you're framing this as a craving for authenticity, right? A tactile connection. But I look at the modern consumer and I see someone who is highly demanding, intensely analytical, and extraordinarily price sensitive. They aren't going to stores just to feel the fabrics. They're going because the modern store has been ruthlessly optimized to protect their wallets and their time.
But the sheer volume of foot traffic suggests a desire to simply be in the space itself, doesn't it? I mean, the friction of getting in your car and leaving the house is way higher than the friction of clicking a mouse. yet they still leave the house.
Only if the destination operates like a finely tuned machine. Look at the ISCC data on this. 71% of shoppers are more selective today due to perceived price increases. And KPMG found that price is the main factor influencing purchase decisions for a whopping 85% of respondents in Canada.
Sure, everyone wants a good price.
It's more than just wanting a good price, though. The modern consumer is absolutely ruthless. The physical store only survives because it utilizes incredibly complex point-of-sale and inventory systems to prevent out-of-stocks and manage these razor-thin margins. Your concept of quote-unquote consumer trust is really just a customer successfully interacting with back-end operational discipline.
I think it's both, though.
But if they drive to the store and the item isn't on the shelf, the emotional magic you're talking about evaporates instantly.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective by looking at exactly who is driving this physical retail renaissance. Because it's not just older generations clinging to 20th century habits.
No, it's not. The demographics are shifting.
Right. The ISCC data explicitly shows that 80% of consumers are open to visiting new stores and trying new brands. And, more importantly, physical store spending plans are being led by younger generations.
The digital natives?
Exactly. We're talking about people who grew up with high-speed internet in their pockets, yet they are consciously choosing the physical store for discovery.
I certainly don't disagree that digital natives are walking through the doors. That's backed by the data. Where I disagree is on the mechanics of what makes that visit successful.
But think about the aesthetic nature of that visit. I like to compare a well-designed physical store to a curated art gallery.
An art gallery? Okay.
Yeah. Think about it. It guides the shopper effortlessly. You walk in, the lighting highlights the seasonal items, the physical adjacencies make intuitive sense. You see a shirt, the perfect jacket is right next to it. It's a spatial, sensory journey that humans are biologically wired to enjoy.
It's a nice image.
Contrast that with online shopping, which essentially feels like digging through a chaotic, unlit warehouse with millions of disorganized boxes. You know, the physical store provides a curated, psychological relief from the infinite, exhausting scroll of the internet. That is why the younger demographic is leading the charge back into physical spaces.
I come at it from a different way.
Oh?
The art gallery is a beautiful metaphor, but an art gallery is utterly useless to a patron if the paintings are missing from the walls.
Well, sure.
You're suggesting that this discovery is some ethereal, architectural achievement, but the truth is, discovery relies fundamentally on back-end accuracy. KPMG explicitly notes that strong inventory performance actively dictates where people choose to shop. Consumers are overwhelmingly more likely to choose retailers that reduce out-of-stocks.
Of course they want the item to be there, but the layout and the environment are what draw them in initially. You don't know the item is out of stock until you're already in the store.
Yes, it's the art gallery, but think of the point-of-sale system as the gallery's invisible curator. Without it, your beautiful space ends up looking like a ransacked thrift store by 2 in the afternoon.
That's a bit extreme.
Not really. Consider Smart Vendor System. This is an all-in-one POS and inventory system designed specifically for small and medium-sized businesses. For an independent retailer, maintaining that curated illusion requires precise, real-time, day-to-day operational control.
Right, handling the back end.
Exactly. Smart Vendor handles multi-store visibility, transaction processing, and customer relationship management natively. It's constantly analyzing what is selling and what needs restocking. If an independent retailer doesn't have a system like that seamlessly tracking stock levels, the customer walks into your beautiful gallery, finds an empty shelf, and immediately pulls out their phone to buy the item from a massive online competitor.
They probably would, yeah.
So the physical discovery you're praising is entirely subsidized by digital inventory management.
I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning because you are attributing the victory to the invisible plumbing rather than the beautiful architecture.
Plumbing is essential.
It is, but nobody visits a building to admire the pipes. The data explicitly shows consumers are fleeing online spaces to spend $837 billion in real life. If technology is the absolute hero here, why are they leaving the ultimate technological space, the e-commerce website, to walk through a set of physical doors?
Because the physical doors,
You're giving all the credit to the inventory software, when the physical storefront itself, the human interaction, the ability to physically inspect a product, is clearly the primary draw.
they aren't leaving technology behind when they walk through those doors, though. They are interacting with it in a much more sophisticated way.
You were presenting e-commerce and physical stores as if they are locked in a zero-sum war.
Well, they are competing for the same dollar.
They are not at war. They have been entirely merged through omnichannel integrations.
Merged, perhaps, but the physical store undeniably remains the ultimate destination. The transaction finishes in the physical world.
Because the technology makes it a highly convenient destination. Let's look at the ISCC finding on this. 52% of shoppers plan to use BOPIS.
BOPIS, right. Buy online, pick up in store.
Exactly, pronounced BOPIS. More than half of the shoppers are actively bridging the digital and physical worlds. And we cannot forget Boris, buying online and returning in-store. These digital workflows are exactly what drive physical foot traffic today.
People do love avoiding return shipping fees.
Exactly. Let's talk about the mechanics of how that actually works. When an independent business uses a tool like Octopus Bridge to synchronize their online and offline product information, they are linking their physical POS system directly to their e-commerce platform. Think of Octopus Bridge not just as software, but as a central nervous system.
Okay, I'm with you.
When a customer buys that jacket online at 11 o'clock at night, the system doesn't just subtract a number on a website. It instantly alerts the physical store's inventory, ensuring that the item is reserved. So when the 10 o'clock walk-in customer arrives the next morning, they aren't fighting over a ghost item.
That makes sense. It prevents double selling.
Yes, that retailer isn't relying on the charm of their physical room. They are relying on their technical ability to perfectly synchronize two massive streams of data. It is omni-channel integration that saves the modern retail experience.
That's an interesting point, though. I would frame it differently.
How so?
I completely acknowledge that tools like Octopus Bridge coordinate the background, and buying online to pick up in store is a highly useful utility. But I want to focus on the interface the customer actually experiences. Because the interface is not the database.
No, but the database drives the interface.
But the interface is the physical environment. It's the human relief of a smooth transaction. When a customer utilizes a pickup service, their satisfaction doesn't come from marveling at the DAMA synchronization. They don't even know what Octopus Bridge is.
True.
Their satisfaction comes from the physical relief of walking in, making eye contact with a human being, bypassing a 3-day shipping delay, and immediately holding the item in their hands. The emotional throughput is inherently physical. Doesn't the technology just get out of the way so the true human experience can happen?
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
You are taking the concept of a quick, seamless transaction and romantically labeling it an emotional human experience. A quick checkout line is not a human experience. It is a profound technological achievement. It is entirely dictated by the processing power of the point-of-sale system.
But the feeling of relief when you get through that line quickly is undeniably human. You can't code relief.
The relief is human, yes, but the direct cause of that relief is purely algorithmic. Take a high-volume environment like a modern grocery store or a supermarket.
Oh, the Sunday afternoon grocery run.
Exactly. Think about that Sunday afternoon run. You have hundreds of carts, weighted produce, barcode scanning, loyalty program integration, voided items, and multi-lane coordination all happening simultaneously.
It is chaotic.
Highly chaotic. And the margin for error is effectively zero. If a register lags by even 2 seconds per item, a cart with 50 items takes an extra 100 seconds. The line backs up, the ambient anxiety in the room skyrockets, and people abandon their carts.
Nobody likes a stalled line.
Right. Logivision acts as a high-stress traffic controller. We're talking about lightning-fast transaction processing and robust inventory management functioning under massive load. When a customer walks out of a supermarket feeling calm and good about their experience, it's not because of the physical room.
It's because they got out fast.
Exactly. It's because Logivision's lane performance was flawless. Speed and reliability are the emotional customer experience in those settings.
I grant you that nobody likes waiting in line, and high-throughput systems like Logivision are undeniably impressive feats of engineering. A stalled checkout line absolutely ruins the mood. I won't argue with that.
It really does.
But I'd actually push back on the core motivation here. The underlying desire to go to the grocery store in the first place, to pick out your own fresh produce, to physically navigate the aisles, to see what is on sale right in front of you rather than ordering groceries through a delivery app that inevitably squashes your bread or picks the wrong apples.
Ah, the substituted items.
Yes, it's terrible. That is a fundamental rejection of the digital surrogate. The technology facilitates the visit, yes, but the human desire for control and physical inspection is what actually motivates it.
I would argue it's an expectation of flawless execution. And this principle scales up even further than the local supermarket. We talked about independent businesses and high-volume grocery, but look at the massive enterprise chains, the corporate giants.
Okay, let's look at them.
They are relying on comprehensive platforms like Retail One to act as the operating backbone for their entire corporation. We're talking about centralized visibility across e-commerce, purchasing, promotions, customer data, and the warehouse itself. When a corporation has over $50 million in assets, they aren't just managing one store. They're managing a massive, dynamic network of goods.
A huge logistical puzzle.
Right. Retail One allows them to see sell-through rates globally and shift inventory dynamically. The physical store, in that context, is just the final visible node on a massive technological network.
So from your perspective, the physical store is essentially just a terminal for the warehouse. It's just an endpoint?
Precisely. Let's look at the financial reality here. U.S. retail corporations with assets of $50 million and over saw their after-tax profits rise significantly in the fourth quarter of 2025.
They did.
And they did not achieve those profit margins by simply making their physical stores look prettier or training their greeters to smile more. They achieved it by investing in enterprise systems like Retail One to tighten their operations, eliminate dead stock, run leaner, and orchestrate complex logistics across every single channel.
The profit comes from the supply chain efficiency, not the romance of the showroom. I absolutely concede that those massive corporate profits are buoyed by the incredible supply chain efficiencies created by centralized systems. If you can stop bleeding margin on mismanaged warehouse stock, your quarterly profits will absolutely rise.
Right? It's just math.
It is math. But I maintain that those profits still fundamentally stem from the shopper's raw desire to leave their houses and step inside a store. All the centralized visibility in the world, all the real-time data synchronization doesn't matter for a single second if the consumer refuses to open their wallet.
Well, obviously you need a willing buyer.
And what opens their wallet, what actually drives that $837 billion in Canadian retail sales, is the deep, innate human need for immediate gratification, physical trust, and the serendipity of real-world discovery.
The wallet opens because the price is right, the item is actually in stock, and the friction of the transaction is zero. Those are technical deliverables, not emotional ones.
It seems we are looking at the exact same transaction from two very different angles.
I think we are.
So, as we look to wrap up our discussion today, how would you summarize the core reality of North American retail as we move through 2026?
Well, I would conclude that shoppers are absolutely not romanticizing the physical store. The modern consumer is highly selective, extremely sensitive to price, and they demand frictionless efficiency at every single touch point.
And the data supports that selectivity.
It does. The incredible resilience we are seeing in North American retail is not a nostalgic rejection of technology. It is a triumph of centralized inventory, incredibly robust POS infrastructure, and deeply integrated omnichannel platforms. The invisible plumbing is the hero here. Solutions like those provided by Acceo, whether it's Smart Vendor empowering an independent retailer, Logivision maintaining order in a chaotic grocery environment, or Retail One streamlining a massive enterprise, are exactly what make the physical space economically viable. The physical store survives and thrives because it has been technologically armored.
And I would conclude that while I deeply respect the sheer processing power and logistical brilliance you're describing, I fundamentally believe the soul of this 2025 and 2026 retail boom is a distinctly human one.
The art gallery.
The art gallery. Yes, the software perfectly orchestrates the mechanics to prevent frustration. I concede that. But the engine actually driving those massive sales numbers,
is a societal rejection of digital fatigue. Consumers are actively choosing the physical store because they crave immediate gratification, the physical trust of inspecting a product with their own hands, and the joy of real-world discovery that no glass screen or algorithm can ever truly offer.
We certainly approach the catalyst differently. However, I think the data has led us to a very clear, undeniable reality today.
We may never agree on whether it's the charm of the showroom or the power of the server room that gets people through the doors, but the numbers make one thing absolutely undeniable. Physical retail is far from a dead market. It is not shrinking into the background.
No, it's a highly active, fiercely competitive space. It is adapting beautifully to a very demanding, complex consumer. And because it's so active, upgrading retail management platforms right now is definitively a growth move. It's no longer just a survival tactic. It's how retailers capture the momentum of an expanding market.
Exactly. Whether it is to facilitate better human discovery or to ruthlessly protect razor-thin margins, the investment in the physical storefront is unequivocally paying off. It really comes down to the fascinating complexity of modern commerce. The ideal retail model today requires both an inviting, tactile physical presence and an invisible, absolutely flawless technological backbone to support it.
A delicate but incredibly profitable balance.
It is. And it leaves us and our listeners with an interesting lens through which to view our own daily behavior. The next time you walk through the doors of your favorite local shop or breeze through a busy supermarket checkout line, ask yourself, are you there because you are escaping the digital monolith, or are you just admiring how flawlessly the digital monolith has hidden itself inside the physical world? Thank you for joining us on The Debate.